everyone. Welcome to Life Between Flights, the podcast about travel industry, small business, and all of life's interruptions. I am your host, Cecily North Rudo, and today I'm going to be talking to my web designer, Sean Pooley. I'm very excited for it, but in the meantime, I just wanted to take a minute and talk about grace. I saw an influencer the other day talking about it, and my coworkers and I talk about it, and just allowing for grace sometimes. You know, for all of us that are running around doing all of the things and wearing all of the hats, and it's impossible to drop your kid off at school and drive 20 minutes, 30 minutes in good traffic, good weather to get to a 9 a.m. meeting. And, you know, there's just times where we need a second to take a pause, take a break, reset before walking into a meeting, especially a meeting where there's going to be a lot of differing opinions. And, you know, I get sometimes some flack from family members about doing all of the things and being so busy. And there's sometimes very little grace for when I'm home and able to do all of the things and be the mom and make the food and do the laundry and all of that stuff. You know, I think this is true for many parents where there's no thank you. There's no recognition. There's no just taking a second to say, thanks for taking care of that today. And I think I just need to remember in my mind that, you know, everyone is fighting a battle within their own head, whatever that looks like, and that we need to remember to give ourselves grace and to also remember to give that grace to others. Now, of course, if it's multiple times that you've done this, and they're still not living up to the expectations, whatever those expectations are, that needs to be a bigger conversation. But, you know, if you know that someone's going to be running late to a meeting, or you know that maybe someone is having something going on in life and you don't need to know the details, but just knowing hey, they might just be a few minutes late. They might need a second to just kind of pause before they jump into the next conversation. And also even with clients and stuff, I feel bad if I don't respond right away to something. And then I also have to remember that, you know, I'm very lucky to have great clients that understand that I might not respond right away, and that I might respond to them at 10 p.m. at night. I might respond to them at midnight. You know, there's definitely different ways that I work that's different than other people. And my clients know that. And it's very obvious in emails and stuff. And so I just have to remind myself, and my husband reminds me of this all the time, that it's not everything is urgent and not everything has to be responded to in the moment. And just to remind yourself to give yourself some grace and don't feel like you're slacking behind because you're taking an extra 10 minutes before you respond to an email or before you respond to a client request or something like that. It's just a reminder that I have to give myself occasionally of just take a minute, take a breath, and be patient with yourself. Be patient with your kids, be patient with your spouse. There's just so many times that I know that I require grace and just a moment to think about how I'm going to move forward. And I think we need to allow that for other people as well and give them that space. But just a reminder, most importantly, to give yourself grace and to understand that you don't have to be Superwoman all the time. And that it's okay to not respond right away, to take a minute, to let it sit, especially when it's, you know, something that angers you or something that just requires a little bit more thought. And also just, it's okay to take that moment for yourself. You know, for fans of Bluey, getting that 20 minutes, I think about that a lot. And, you know, I definitely don't give myself that 20 minutes a lot, and trying to be better about that. So with that, let's move on to a much more fun conversation with my web designer and the owner of Nanopulse Digital, Sean Pooley. Well, I'm so excited to have my web designer with me today, Sean Pooley of Nanopulse Digital. Welcome, Sean.
Hello. Happy to be here.
So I'm just going to give a little overview on our history. So we are both members of our local chamber, and I was at the point with my website of I need some help. I didn't want to do it myself anymore, and I just needed it to be managed by someone else, but also have another eye on it because I feel like I, can do things, but I know that I definitely need input. And so I reached out to the chamber and was like, hey, I'm looking for someone to help me with a website. And the first person that they recommended was Sean, and it has worked out swimmingly for me. So we met, and that was like a year ago, a little over a year ago.
That's crazy.
Now.
That doesn't feel like a year ago.
It was,
but,
yeah. But we met at the library, and we've seen each other at other chamber events and things like that. And so Sean has done a lot for me, and my business truly has changed since working with Sean and getting way more inquiries and, the Google reviews and all of that stuff that I talk about. All of that is because of him. I will blame all of that on him.
I'll take that blame. That's fine.
It truly is like people are finding me because of my website and because of the Google reviews and all of that stuff. So I would not have done all of that without Sean's advice. So.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that you're giving me a little too much credit. I think that your website acts as like a checkpoint for clients, right? So they heard your name, and then they find you online, and the website acts as like, okay, this person does exist, and they do this professionally. And so, yeah, it's definitely critical. But I would say definitely your business grew on its own just because of how good you are at your job, right? But like, if you don't have a website to back that up, then you'll lose a lot. And it could be 10%, could be 20%, could be 100%, depending on how good your website, or if you have a website or not. So
yeah, that's absolutely. So the episode before this is I'm talking about like for travel agents specifically, like what the difference is between having a website, having social media. Do you want like for me, mine was I wanted it custom. Like I want it customized to me. I didn't want a template. I didn't want to have a third party travel agent site that looks like every other travel agent out there. I wanted it to still be me and have my personality in it. And so that was why I absolutely wanted to keep my customized website. And even like within my host agency lately, we've been talking about like, what are the services people are using? Like, are they doing Wix or Squarespace or doing one of those third-party paid sites or whatever? And I'm like, no, I just like being special and having it be customized, which is another reason why I'm so glad that we met and you took over my site because it is everything that I want it to be. And obviously it's working. So with that, let's talk a little bit about let's get your perspective on that. So let's say for new travel advisors and they're just like, how do I get my name out there? And social media is a whole other topic. But if they're just looking at a web presence, what are kind of the things they need to be thinking about, and like what are kind of the steps you take with new clients?
Yeah. So obviously everyone wants to be special, and everyone wants to have their own like custom solution. And I would say if you have the energy and desire and like technical skill to build your site in Squarespace or Wix, and like every web designer out there is gonna like laugh at me for saying this, but like honestly, go build it yourself. Like go try it yourself. If you have the time, especially if you're new, you might not have a lot of clients or maybe whatever, you have a lot of time on your hands. Building your own website is not the worst idea. It at least shows that you're legitimate enough to have a website. And that's great. But, there's always going to be cost associated with it. Wix and Squarespace aren't doing what they do for free, right? And they're trying to sell you on a maintenance plan or hosting and all that stuff. And so they're going to figure out a way to get money out of you eventually. It's not free. The other alternative, like you mentioned, is, and I actually called a few, I was doing some business development and I called some travel agents. I was like, hey, I see that you don't have a website. You're just using your vendor profile page. They're like, yeah, it works fine for me for now. I'm like, okay, well, you'll hit a ceiling and you'll regret it because if you're generating content, you're working hard to make sure that you're taking pictures on your vacations. You're getting all this information out there. I know like blogging is a big thing, and if you're putting that on someone else's website, you don't own it, right? You want to own that traffic. So I would say, if you have the energy, go build your website on your own. If you don't have the energy, if you don't understand the technical side, then come talk to me. That's your only option.
Yep, absolutely.
It's really, there's so many developers out there that are willing to do stuff for low cost, and I think I'm a pretty low cost web developer, but People tell me I'm not, or I am all the time. So I can't shop with my own wallet, but from my perspective, I'm pretty inexpensive.
I think you are, considering I've heard from other, not travel agents, but other small business owners, and hearing what they're spending on having a website built for them. Yeah. And that's absolutely a good point. Like, I was just talking to my business coach, and we were talking about starting a newsletter. And I was like, oh, that's just like one more thing. And I was like, well, I already write this article for this other newsletter. And she's like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, I write a monthly article for area newsletters. And she's like, you mean you're already creating content and it's going to someone else's newsletter? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, why? What? Yeah, exactly. She's like, no, that needs to go to your people and not just, I mean, it's great for them, but like, it's your content. Use it for your own stuff. And that's a great point too. Like, when we're talking about going on fam trips or doing those developer, or meeting with your business developers or doing those supplier trainings, they provide so much content to you already, the photos, the videos, the reels, like all of that stuff that you can put it in a place. So if you have, and it's not just the social media, if you have that on your site and someone clicks through it through social media and they find it on your site and it's like, oh, and this is all the other stuff that I do, that's like a huge thing that's already provided to you. You just need to have that legit, I'm putting up quote fingers, of what that looks like in your site. And that's a huge point I didn't even think about, was like, we are already generating the content, and having it in your own spot is a huge.
Yeah, travel agents are in a very unique position because you have these vendors that provide you with all this imagery and great starts, right? One of my biggest barriers when I'm building new websites for people is I'm like, well, do you have pictures of what you do? Do you have any sort of anything that I can work with? And when working with you, it was like, oh, here's a folder with all of my vendors, everything. And it's like, oh, I have so much to work with here. And, in the end, we don't necessarily want to use their images if we have our own, but it's such a great starting point where it's like, okay, you work with Disney and they give us all these amazing photos to use of their parks, of their, cruise line, whatever. And, eventually maybe you take your own pictures, but for now, that's great. And it's better than most people out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's expected, right? If I go to a travel agent site and they don't have any images, red flags, right? That's a big problem. So.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's like, they just provide so much, and it's like you just don't even have to think about it in that way. And then also, so I've talked about this with a few other people, but talking about AI.
Okay.
And so like, I know for, again, talking to other small business owners who are starting these sites and working with a web developer, but like they literally they don't even know what to say on their site. Like, how even do you describe your business and how do you get that into a website? And some of them, the people they're working with, are like, well, go to ChatGPT and just have it write up a thing. And I'm very hesitant about that. And I think it's because, well, maybe I'm just old school, but also I'm like, but AI can pull, like, there's no fact checking, and it's like, yes, it can kind of craft your message into a certain voice, but that isn't even necessarily your own voice, right?
Yeah.
So how do you help your clients craft that message without using the robots?
So I'll say this, I absolutely use AI.
Yeah.
But going and asking it that type of question is not the way to use it. So what I've actually done for people that don't have a good direction on how they want things, I think when we started working together, you already had a site and you already had some of these things written out. But if someone is starting from zero, I do what's a content interview. And it's actually formatted almost like a podcast, right? Where I sit down and I ask them, there's a series of 20 questions where it's like, who are you? Where did you start? Blah, 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 whatever. And then I videotape it. And it's awesome if you want to generate social media content because it's like kind of there exactly how it should be. But what you can do is take this transcript of that interview and then you feed it into AI and say, hey, these are all the answers to these questions. And then you can then say, write my mission statement based on this interview. And now you have like real human expertise utilizing AI to kind of like filter out the good stuff. And now you have a website that is in your own words. And that's like, honestly, like people are in pro AI camp, anti AI camp. But for this sort of thing, it's like 100%. I don't have to sit there and like rewrite your own words. I can just have AI do it, and then it looks great, and it's your own words, right? It's not some made up whatever.
Yep.
And that's
100%.
the struggle. And that's the danger. If you go and ask AI to write your whatever, it's going to run with it. And if you believe it, great. But it's no one wants to read it anyway.
Yeah. And I love that. Like, that's how, I mean, I use it too. And it definitely is like, I want to put in my own messaging and then just make it better and also more like concise, because I will just run on and I'm just like, no, I need to cut it down a little bit. But yeah, that's also a great point of when you're kind of, and also using it just for like those kind of starting points, to think about things. It's like, help me, like even with the podcast, it's like, help me craft some of these beginning questions. And I'm like, I can take it from there, but just like help me start thinking about things like that. All right, so we'll dive into the business questions, and then I'm sure I'll have more for that after. So let's start at the beginning. What led you to starting your business?
Yeah, so I was working at an agency, so a marketing agency in Denver. I was full-time there. I was an account manager, and it was honestly, they were in a tough spot. They had let go or had people quit that were the providers. So the people that did the SEO and the ads, the Google ads and Facebook ads, a lot of them had left for one reason or another. And so they had hired me as an account manager. So I was managing, I think, 26 different accounts at any given time. And it was a massive amount of money coming in. And I didn't have any support people. And so I was actually just doing all the work. And it was crazy. It was just insane. And, the rest of the company was kind of like losing clients because there was no providers and they were still charging. But I had made really great relationships with some clients. And so I had clients that were kind of on the edge of even staying. And then when they let me go, because they were downsizing, right? They couldn't afford, they let go a ton of account managers at my level. I had clients reaching out after the fact saying like, oh, where'd you go? Like, in fact, I had one say, hey, wherever you land, like, let them know we'll come with you if that's going to be a good selling point to get a job. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start my own thing. And it ended up being, I had been building websites since high school. And so the web design piece has become like my main thing that I do now. And then the marketing side is like kind of the other things that I do. And it's great and I really enjoy it. And being like in the SEO side helps me to build websites in a way that will rank and perform well. And then it's been a dream, honestly. Like it's been kind of crazy how fast things go when you really commit to something. So for travel agents that you're like wondering if you should go full time, honestly, going full time is the scariest thing you'll do. But man, is it worth it?
100%. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and and also having those clients that trust you, they're like, wherever you go, like I'm with you, like having that kind of support is amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I could have done it without that.
Yeah.
Because, you're trying to feed your family and going from, that nice paycheck every month to something that's a little bit more up and down is hard. But having that consistent, like, hey, we'll be your first. Awesome.
That's cool. So that's amazing. What is the best tip you have for new business owners?
Oh boy. I would say get out there. If you're a new business owner, like let's say you've been doing something for a long time, a few years, and you're ready to go freelance or you're on your own, you're going to quickly realize that most of your job is no longer what you were doing before. I'd love to say that I was doing web development from 9 to 5 and making money doing that. But really, I'm working on my taxes right now. I'm here, right? Doing like this sort of stuff. And it's not something you'd be doing otherwise. So just make sure that you're comfortable and ready to do stuff that you're not comfortable with. As cool as it would be, it's the E-myth. I don't know if you've heard of that, but just because you're a good baker doesn't mean you're a good bakery owner. So just be ready to get out there, go to your chamber of commerce, get in some networking groups, even if it's not something that like your industry really needs, but you need to be talking to people. And as much as I feel like it's this big lie that we're told that everything's online now, but it's just not true. Biggest money that I've made has been in-person connections. And that's always going to be the case, especially in like a day and age where AI is just like filling the internet. In-person connection is always going to beat out the AI. And that's, again, coming from a web developer person, people are going to get mad at me if a web dev is hearing this, but that's just the truth.
Yeah. That's what I tell people all the time. Like, if you want to do it online, fine. But if you want a real human helping you and not a chat bot and not an 800 number, you want to work with me because you get a real person that you can talk to whenever you need to. And it's not the same, like, if everyone's having the same issue, they're all calling the same number and you're on hold for 4 hours, Yeah.
It's like travel is not done online.
Yep.
So why would you try and do stuff online?
Yeah.
I mean, of course you're going to book things online, but things go wrong. People's systems don't work, right? Ask me how I know websites don't work. I've seen some crazy stuff that you wouldn't believe on how manual websites are, and it would shock you.
What has been your biggest challenge and how have you overcome it, or is it still a challenge?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge is accountability, right? When you're on your own, you started your own business, you have, at least for me, I have my spouse who holds me accountable, but it's not her job to understand what my task list is. I was used to having a boss and having someone hold me accountable. And so for me, now I'm holding myself accountable. That's really difficult. Your clients are going to hold you accountable. Of course, you know that. They're going to call you in the dead of night or whatever. But the stuff that isn't what they care about, like making the sales calls or, signing up for the chamber, going to your chamber events, going to networking events and actually showing up, no one's holding you accountable to that other than yourself. And so that's hard for me. And I'm working on it. I've started some things that have helped me a lot. Having accountability partners of people that are not like, they don't have investment in your business, but maybe they have their own thing and you have this accountability exchange, whatever it may be, whatever works, that's what you got to do.
Yeah. That's a huge, and that's partially why I hired my business coach was like, I need that third party that has no investment in my business. I mean, she wants to see me succeed, obviously, but she's the one that's like, okay, in 2 weeks, what are the things that you're going to say that if you're going to tell me you're going to do it, then we're going to do it. And I'm like, oh yeah. Like,
and I think business coaches are so good. And the thing is, they don't even have to be good business coaches. Like, find one that is available and cheap because, and again, I'll get crucified for saying that, but like, it's more about someone that's going to meet with you regularly and say, did you do the things you said you were going to do? Because you can work in your business, but you need to be working on your business. And that's what that's for.
Yeah. That's an awesome line. That's very...
I wish it was mine, but I think it's from someone else.
We're going to credit it to you until we get corrected. What is the best advice you've ever received, whether business or personal?
Best advice I've ever received was from... I had a former employer. He was a great boss. He did AV, so like electronics stuff. And it was just... He's a very practical guy, and his dreams are very high, which is very funny. But it was like figure out what your biggest skill. Like I think he called it a BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal. Figure out what that big goal is 20 years in the future, and then just break it up into chunks. And that's helped me a lot because it's like, oh, if I want to be here, and all I have to do is these little things today, that's doable. Looking at your big goals and then like having that like, oh man, that's scary is tough. But breaking it up into little chunks is always going to be better. Yeah.
On that, like before 2022, I never set goals for my business and it shows like the difference between 2022 and 2023. And it's like, oh, because someone asked me the question of like, what's your goal? And I was like, oh, I don't know. But like, I just want to do things. And then it was like, oh, okay. Now that I have a dollar amount and that dollar amount keeps going up every year, and then my goal was always to hit 5-star. Well, now I've hit 5-star 3 years in a row. And then now it's like for 2026, it's like, I don't like, what's the next thing? Because even setting those goals and those little kind of milestones to get to that big goal, it's like, oh, well, I've done this. So now what's the next big thing? So this year, I'm saying this, we'll see, I don't know that I'm holding myself to this, but the scary goal right now is $1 million in sales for the year.
There you go.
And so that's why I'm like, I think that's just where that's got to be the thing because, I mean, aside from the podcast, like as a thing, but like otherwise it's just, I've done all the other goals I set for myself. So now it's like, okay, well, that's another big scary number. So let's go after that. And
and then you take that big scary number. It's like $1 million in sales for 2026. What do I need to do on a quarterly basis to meet that? And obviously your numbers today, your first quarter, are going to be less than your last quarter, but that's okay. So it's like, okay, well, maybe I need to do 150 this quarter. I need to do 250 next quarter. I need to do 350 the next quarter and 450 the next, or whatever the math works out. But that's hard and scary. But like and then you break it up. It's like, okay, well, what do I need to do this week to accomplish that quarterly or monthly goal? And it's like, it's such corporate speak and I hate it, but like, it's really applicable. It's like, okay, what do I need to do today to accomplish this thing that I'm holding myself accountable to a year from now?
100%. What is your, like, you've talked a little bit about it, but let's start to finish, kind of what is your process with your clients? Like, let's say a brand new person comes to you and they're like, I have nothing and I want to be a plumber. Like how do you walk them through that?
So there's a lot there. So most people I've talked to have like done very basic name and logo work. If someone hasn't come up with a name and logo, then it's actually better in my opinion, because we can sit down and say, okay, well, what are your values and how can we come up with a name that'll, show those values? And then one of my favorite tools is called Coolers. Have you heard of this? It's coolers.co, COOLER. Just look up Coolers. I don't remember.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah. And it's awesome because you can go and like pick color palettes that balance. And that's a big step for people, because it's like, okay, how are we going to make your website look that is good with like color wise? We don't want a boring website. We don't want a crazy looking website. We need something that's balanced. And maybe you do want a crazy looking website. Maybe that's your brand, and that's okay. But anyway, so that's kind of where I start, is like, okay, well, what can we do to make sure that, or what are your color, what's your color palette? What's the energy you want to bring? Do you have a logo? If not, let's go start brainstorming. This is where AI can get you like 30 to 40% of the way. And I really recommend like find out, it doesn't really matter. Google, ChatGPT, they all have generators for images, and just say like, I want a logo for this, and just kind of start experimenting. Grok, I think, is actually really fun for like rapid iterations of this. So their image software is really fast. So anyway, get a general idea, and then you go to somebody that's actually going to make it a vector. I actually use Fiverr all the time for this, because especially if you have like a general idea, like, hey, I did this in AI, I don't like this and this, can you give me some versions of it? They can go in and make it look good. So that's where I go from there. Now that I have a logo and a name, fonts is another piece of that. Usually I like to have a starting point. And I know you mentioned like, I don't want a template website. And the reality is every single developer uses templates, even if they're like custom code. But what I do is I go find a template and we like kind of discuss what we like and don't like. And then from there I can go make a ton of changes. But having a baseline of like, yeah, this is the general vibe I'm looking for. For a lot of people, putting into words what they like and don't like is very difficult, or what they want. And so having just like a starting point helps a lot for people that aren't used to like being hypercritical. And that's really hard, right? So I have a client, for example, who is hypercritical, but had a lot of trouble communicating what she liked and didn't like early on in the process. And honestly, it's been the worst because she's like, yeah, it looks great. But in her heart, she didn't love it. And so now like we've gone through iteration after iteration, and I'm spending hours and hours every month fixing this website that she gave her stamp of approval on. And it's like, I actually don't like the way that it looks now, right? I liked how it looked before. But I'm going to just do what she says, because that's what she needs, is that, slow iterative process. But I tell my clients, I've really learned, if you don't like something, you have to tell me. You have to tell me now. Otherwise, I will base everything. It's a spiral, because if you say, yeah, I like that, and you don't, then I will base what my next steps are on that data input. So anyway, I'm getting off the rails here.
That's okay.
But really, what it is figuring out what you like, making some very important decisions up front, and then basing everything off of it from there. And it's a long process, and there's a lot of information that I have to gather. I tell people that the reason why I charge so little is because I actually have to. You're going to be working on your website more than you realize, and it's a process.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's not like when we worked together and the brand color, which I kind of had my brand colors, but you gave me more options. And so it was like, oh, I get a fourth and fifth, I could fill in a couple and I was like, oh, well, I want like beachy whatever. And I was like, well, that looks terrible online. Like, why would I think that this? So it's like going through that whole process after being in business for 10 years was like, oh, okay. It just kind of helps clarify in that, in the whole branding thing. But then also once like you sent me other agents' websites to look at just to like help give a feel of like, I like this vibe, I don't like this vibe. But it was also me being terribly judgmental of like the business and being like, and that was the hard part for me was like getting over what the content was and just looking at it as a template and like, okay, do we like what this looks like regardless of what they're offering? But to go through that process too of like, oh yeah, I want these 3 things. I don't want this stuff. And having that ability to go back and forth and also be like, and you had seen what my site looked like before. And then like, when you took it over, it made it just more clear in my head what I wanted because you were asking all of those questions and just going through that because, when you do it on your own and again, not having another set of eyes on it and you're like, yeah, this is working. It's great. And now you've given me so many more just ideas and things to just like, I have my Calendly link on there now so people can just automatically book a meeting with me, which is working. And then now like the podcast link is on there. And so it's like, really, that is my tool. If people are trying to contact me, I'm like, just go to the website. Yeah. Like that's all you need. You don't need all the other stuff.
Yep. And it should be that way, right? And like you said, I totally forgot to mention that part of the, like, I usually send a list of competitor websites in a spreadsheet and it's like, what do you like and don't like about these? And usually I'm very like actually selective on what sites I put in there because I actually put some bad examples in there to see if it sounds weird, but to see if you catch the bad, like what's bad and what's good. And then I put like the websites that are performing well in there to see if you like what is performing well, and because sometimes those conversations, and it sounds like I'm doing a test, but I'm not. I'm like it's information gathering because the worst thing I could do is build a website that I think looks good and that you hate. Because then I'll be like, well, I made this art piece and now you don't like it. I'm so offended. But utilizing that like baseline of here's some of your competitors here. And I don't say if they do well or not. I just give them the website and say, what do you like and don't like? Yeah. And from there I can extrapolate a lot of information, especially on energy. And I know this is so like wishy-washy, but like when I send you a website and you're like, this is too formal, that says what direction I want to take. I need to take the site. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm part of like this marketing specifically for travel agents group. And I need to like cancel it because it's a waste of money. But anyway, but one of the things they talk about is they have an example of I don't even know that I feel like they sent a website and they were like, check out this person's page. And it was very travel bloggy, like someone that travels full time. And I'm like, but this is not their business. Like it is not a business to book other trips. They're showing the trips that they go on, which is a very different vibe than what I would go for is saying, no, I'm going to help you travel. And so it's interesting. And now like, I don't check out my competition. Well, there's a question. Do you advise clients to like check out, even regardless of what you're sending? Is it like maybe, I don't know, twice a year or quarterly or something like maybe you check out the competition and see?
Yeah. I would say get your top like 2. Like take, for example, you're going to build your business and you're like, in 5 years, I want my business to look like these guys, but better, obviously, because you're better than them.
Of course.
You're like, I want to do better than these guys. What are they doing actively? But again, just because they're doing something doesn't mean it works. So keep that in mind. But if they're doing something that is like interesting to you, that you feel like you can dedicate energy to, absolutely write it down, send it my way, right? Like, for example, I don't know where you got the idea of having the map on your website. Was that from a competitor?
No, I just like maps.
Yeah, it was cool. we built a map on our website that shows all the pins of all the places her clients have
Which is honestly my favorite thing on my website.
Yeah, it's so cool. I'm really proud of it. It took normally those maps are designed to like be built by piecemeal, but we had a big list, and so I had to I was doing some funky ChatGPT code.
The list
to get
gets
that
longer.
But now it's working great. But anyway, just take a look. If there's something you think is exciting, absolutely. But remember that energy spent looking at competitors is energy that could be spent probably somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, does it make more sense to peruse your competitor and get angry at what they're doing? Or does it make more sense to just build what you currently have?
Yeah.
So anyway, I throw that out there.
I think too, and this is I need to email you because there's things that I threw out to you when we first started working together that I was like, I want to highlight book clubs and I want to highlight golf stuff. And I was like, yes, those are the things I love, but those aren't the things bringing me money. So, and that was one of the things when I first met with another podcast episode talking to our business librarians with my old site way before you and I met. And they were like, when I go to your site, I see Disney videos that have nothing to do with your business. Like, it's just you talking about Disney movies. And they're like, this is very confusing to clients if this is what you're highlighting. And so that has been another thing of like, the reason why and it's not even competitors necessarily, I'm looking at my fellow Dugans agents too, and just be like, because they ask for advice sometimes. And so I'm like, yeah. And then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I love this part. And you can tell the people that really have their niche and they figured out their niche because that's all that their website is about. And it's like, and I like throwing things out there and trying it. And if it doesn't work, okay. Like I'd rather try it and it fail and then I just take it off, which is another reason why I like having you, because I can just email you and be like, hey, let's get rid of that. And then it's gone immediately. But yeah, I think there's just something to be said for, it's not necessarily even competition. It could be people that are just in the same industry that you admire, right?
It's really easy. So this is a really big trap that people fall into on websites is they chase what's interesting to them versus what's interesting to their clients or what will sell. Right. And it's especially a problem with blogs. So people will write a blog and blogs take a lot of time. You know, I started in college. I literally wrote blog content for hours and hours a day for like as a job. I was a content writer writing about stuff I had no business writing about. Okay. Like hot air balloons and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's like, yeah, I'm an expert on hot air balloons and parasailing, paramotors. No. But anyway, the danger is if you're writing stuff that you're excited about. It's like, oh, I'm excited about going and seeing this like obscure band that's going to be playing whatever. Awesome. You can write about your trip, but what's better, like writing a blog about what you're interested in or a more general blog that's like, hey, if you want to go somewhere to see an artist, this is what this can look like. It can be last minute. Maybe you save money if it's last minute. I don't know. I'm not a pro, but having that's much more likely to drive drive traffic than, oh yeah, I went to go see, X band in Montreal because I have money. I feel like there's a lot of these, and this sounds rude, but there's a lot of like Nepo babies in travel agent world where they have a ton of money and they're like, yeah, I'm a travel agent. I can help you. Daddy's money's helping me start this business, but they're not actually good at what they do.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a lot of and I've talked about this too, like there's there's a lot of MLMs out there and it's just the way that they advertise their business that I'm like, this is not how travel agencies work. Like we get the phone calls at 2 a.m. because our clients can't get to their hotel, whatever. I'm like, you're not done at 5 p.m. when or when you pick up your kids from school. That's not when your business day ends. Like there's so much of that too. But yeah. And I just think about, looking at, even if there's just a topic that obviously I love Disney, but I find that I don't pay as much attention to Disney now because I love it, but my business is such a small amount of Disney that I'm like, no, I need to be looking at Europe and looking at the, Australia and all of the other places that my clients are traveling to. That's what I'm doing the courses in and all of the certifications and all of that stuff because that's what's asked of me. And that's what we talk about too in the niche episode, like finding your niche. And sometimes you think you know what your niche is going to be, but your clients tell you something very, very different. And that's the other thing about having someone to help guide your website or someone that's managing it for you because they can help you see that as well. But it's also just like, it's one less thing for me to worry about when I can just literally email you and be like, hey, we need to take this cruise down, or I have a new cruise booked or whatever. And it's just one less. And that was partially why I wanted to hire someone was like, I don't have the time to do this. And also I just need someone that can do it way faster than me and can do it at a professional level. Right. And so that's been a huge benefit of all of this stuff is just like having those eyes on it and just being like, no, this isn't really what's going to work for you. Like, let's do this instead.
Yeah. I'll say this, I am much more similar to your customer than you are, right? Because And that I say that I probably have less money than your customers do, but like you understand all the things. You understand what it means to travel to Australia, what it's like, all the procedures, whatever. I don't. So of course, like me looking at your site, if you are making assumptions that your customers know more than they should, it's going to be really hard to use your site. So yeah, I think it's really important to have, if you're even doing it yourself, hand it to someone else and say like, what do you, like pretend that you're looking to go to Europe on a cruise, cruise on whatever.
Yeah.
Show me where you would go on this site. Does it make sense? And that test will tell you a lot.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. All right, let's talk some fun travel questions. I know you like scuba diving, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a weirdo who likes to
okay.
endanger my life in foreign countries.
You're not the only one. I have clients that just did it in Australia. So
for good reason.
Yeah. Okay. So how does travel inspire or reset you as a business owner and a creator?
Yeah, I think that it's so easy to like just hammer away at your job and get in your own head, right? It's so easy to just forget that you're supposed to be living too. And travel's really hard. He's 15 months old, and it's really hard to like figure out how we're going to travel with him, if we're going to travel with him, leave him with grandma. But having something to look forward to is such a huge deal. I haven't been on a vacation in a while, and we're going scuba diving here soon, and it's like something to look forward to. And having that like, it's like the light at the end of the tunnel. And I know it just resets again, but having that reset of like, here's where I need to be, and that's where I can go. So that's what it does for me, is like give me hope.
Yep.
So
that's totally fair. Has travel ever changed something about the way you lead or create or just how you work in general?
That's a tough one, because I try to have, tell people to rest, and to relax, but sometimes you can't, no matter what situation you're in. And I think that me being relaxed helps me work with people, because if you're taking a week vacation once a year isn't going to relax you the whole year, but it at least helps. And you know that when you have that ability to go somewhere interesting and to step away from your life, it lets you look at it with fresh eyes. We talked about websites, right? How if you're building a website, it's so hard to get like when you're staring at the same thing over and over again, and it's impossible to like self-critique. Or maybe you told, oh yeah, I need to fix that, but now it's erased, that thing is gone, and so flaws start creeping in. So when you step away, you can come back to things and say, oh yeah, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. So that change in perspective is a paradigm reset. And I think that helps a lot for me creatively, coming back to, the humdrum of building websites all day. Not that I don't like it, I love it, but it can be hard.
Yeah.
When you're staring at it day in, day out.
100%. Okay. If you could take your team, your clients, or your community on a dream retreat, where would you go and why?
I would love to go to the Great Barrier Reef, either Philippines or Australia, and go scuba diving. But I know that that's like really scary for a lot of people. So, but the cool thing is there's lots to do there elsewhere or otherwise. My dream vacation is to like, that I could do. If I had the money, I could bring everyone I wanted to, all my clients and whatnot, rent out a liveaboard, which if you don't know what a liveaboard is, it's like a tiny cruise ship, right? So, you might have 50 to 100 people on this thing. Rent out a liveaboard, go to the Great Barrier Reef, and you're going to get to know people real well.
Yep.
And there'll be some bonding, and you'll see some really amazing things that you really can't see any other way. Cruise ships don't stop at places that a liveaboard can. You can't do day trips to places that a liveaboard can. So it's like these really isolated, amazing places, and with the luxury of having, a full-time chef and whatever, all the things. So,
100%.
And it's a little bit more like specific. I feel like cruise ships can be, it's like, it's like a, dining hall stepped up to the next level. It's quality for the masses, and that's really difficult. They do great, but it's not quite there in my opinion. But I think a liveaboard, it's like, no, they're gonna catch the fish off the side of the boat and feed it to you for dinner. And that sounds awesome to me. So.
Yeah, 100%. What travel experience has taught you the most about work-life balance?
I went to a conference where I was working at the conference. And this was not a vacation. I was working, right? I was getting paid to be there. And it was like the hardest week of my life. I was getting up at 5, going to bed at 10, and I was working that whole time. It was miserable.
Yep.
But what it taught me was that like preparation is key, because the people I was going with, there was things that they could have done to prepare that they didn't do. And so we were scrambling. Like I was doing graphic design on site so that we could print up posters for the event. And that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I understood then that like, yeah, there's going to be times where work is so crazy that you don't have time for anything else. But it's important that you prep for those times, especially in my industry. Like I have lulls for weeks. If I didn't show up to work for a week, nothing would have changed.
Yeah.
Where everything's working perfectly. Nobody needs like changes. Like you said, no one sends me emails. And then other weeks I get 50 emails overnight and I'm like stressed out of my mind. But the trick is making sure you have systems in place so that you can kind of like even out those lows and highs. And that's really hard, but it's really critical.
Yeah, 100%. That's where I'm at right now. Like they'll be like, I'll send out proposals and I'm just waiting for people. And then I hear nothing for like 5 days. And then everybody all decides on the same day to respond. And it's like, oh, okay. And now I need to like prioritize, okay, which one's soonest? Like what do we need to get booked first? But it is funny how you can like, you can go for a while and just hear like, yep, it's all great. Everything's fine. And then it's like, oh, nope. Now everyone's responding all at the same time. That's
and it's
so
not
funny.
even that you're not making money during those lulls. It's just like everything's good.
Yep.
And so you kind of, at least for me, it's really easy for me to go, oh, well, I'll just kind of, my wife and I love to go to Waterworld, which is over here in Denver. And so it's like, she only works 3 days a week. So it's like, oh, well, I could take a Tuesday off and go to Waterworld. Today's easy. But in reality, I should have been prepping for the crazy weeks. There's lots of ways to do that in every industry. But for me, it's kind of complex and hard, and it's hard to motivate myself to do that. But it's good.
I think too, especially when you've got littles at home and like they're home and it's like, we can just have a family day and just like go do other stuff. That I'm like, that's always now that my kiddo's in school, it's a little harder and also I see those days counting down of like, we're not going to be able to just take her out of school when we want to, like we have been, because preschool doesn't matter. And I'm like, we're not going to be able, I still will pull her out for a Disney trip, but I'm we're counting down those days of like suddenly schedules are going to get a lot harder to do all of the things that we've been privileged to do for so long. Then I'm like, oh yeah. Yep. All right. Well, you already told me about if money and time and logistics were not a problem, what you would do. So we'll get you on a liveaboard at some point.
Yeah, someday. I really want to.
Yeah. Those ones. Yeah. Those things are it's like, talk about just like, like you said, like it's one of those places, much like, there's certain places where like you can only hike into and like, or you get dropped off by a helicopter and that's the only way you can get there of like that kind of stuff. And it's like, that's the only way to experience it. And some people think that's great. And some people are like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Well, liveaboard is a very safe way to do things.
Yeah. That would be more, even though I always say like, I hate being in water and I hate like just the ocean in general. But if I'm on a boat on top of the ocean, I am perfectly fine.
Yeah. The scary thing about liveaboards too is you're completely reliant on the weather. And cruises are this way too, but it's less so, right? A cruise ship will be fine. Yeah. But like a liveaboard, if the weather's really bad, they just won't leave. And so you're like stuck in port. Yep. And you paid a lot of money. They're expensive. You paid a lot of money to do this thing and you don't get to do any of it. Yeah. So that's very scary. And I think I need to be a little bit more income secure to be pulling something like that. For now, I'll stick with resorts and cruises and just go scuba diving there. Yeah.
I think, too, there's something about just, like, your mindset. Because, like, talking about the weather-reliant thing, like we were on a Royal Caribbean cruise a couple of years ago, and we stopped in Labadee in Haiti, and they have their little, like, it's a teeny tiny little, they call it an island. It's really not an island, but it's this little tiny spot. And they take a boat out there, and they do two tours in the day. And so the first tour got left late, and then we were on the second tour, and they were coming back late, and the weather was good. They were like, we can get you out there, but we're going to have to come back in order for the ship to leave. Like, it was a whole thing, and it was all through Royal Caribbean, but it was just like, I was like, I thought it was great. They told us everything to expect. Yep. We knew it was going to be a short amount of time, but there's nothing there. Literally, they're bringing a cooler with drinks in it. So, like, it's not like you're expecting a whole lot. And I'm like, I got beautiful pictures. I got to enjoy a private island for, an hour. We got great pictures. We got to lay on the beach. And then we got on the boat and, they sped back and we were literally the second to last people getting on the boat.
Yep.
And everybody's watching you because you all know the pier runners. That was us.
Yep.
But there was this woman there and she was like, what did you like? She's like, oh my gosh, that was just such a waste of money. And I was like, you didn't have to get on that boat.
Yeah.
They told you early on that it was going to be running late and that you could have changed your plans and they would have given you, they gave you all of the options and you still went.
To do it.
Yeah, you still chose to do it. So I'm like, there's something about just having the mindset of, yep, this is what it's going to be. And I think that just, that's a whole other philosophy on life. But
it's tough. It's tough when you've saved up a long time to do something great and you can't.
Yeah.
Or it gets hampered in some way and you're a little crushed. It's not a big deal if you get to go on more trips, right? It's like, I'll just, I'll get a better one or a good time next time and it's fine. But, for some perspective, so I got certified in Miami, and that was the first time I had dove in the ocean. The whole time, everyone I was with had already been diving, and they were complaining the whole time. They're like, the visibility's terrible. And I'm just like, did you see what was down there? That was so cool. And they're like, oh, that was awful. Like, I don't ever want to do that again. Meanwhile, and this is gross, so whatever. But I was puking because of the seasickness. And I don't know if you know this, but you can puke underwater scuba diving, and it's really weird. And I was doing that, but I was still enjoying the heck out of it because I had never seen the type of wildlife that I had on that trip. Even though visibility was terrible, there were jellyfish everywhere. We were getting stung like crazy, and it was fine though. I was my mind was blown.
Yep.
So it's all about perspective, and it's hard, but
100%. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sean, for being here and for talking to me and helping me with my website and all of the things. Truly, Sean, I tell everyone that Sean truly changed my business and my website. So literally life-changing for me. Well, with that, I hope you enjoyed my interview with Sean. He truly is amazing. He has done so much for my business and my website and having people able to find me. And he is always willing to try new things. So I definitely highly recommend Sean and Nanopulse Digital. If you need website enhancements or anything else, he truly goes above and beyond with his business. Like I said, we've been working over a year together now, and my business has completely changed with his help. So with that, I hope you all go forth and are successful and safe travels, and may your luggage follow you wherever you go. Today's episode of Life Between Flights was sponsored by me, Traveling North, produced by me and edited by Nomad Creations. Please check out the show notes for referral links, discount codes, and more resources that I've talked about in this episode. You can also follow along on our social media on Facebook and Instagram at Life Between Flights Pod. If you want help planning your next adventure, you can always check me out at travelingnorthagency.com. If you have any questions, ideas, or would like to sponsor this podcast, you can email us at lifebetweenflightspod@gmail.com.